We will call the April 17th, 2024 meeting of the Cotuit Water Commissioners to order. Commissioners Turbuck, Robinson, and Horsley here, as well as the superintendent and the office manager. Thank you guys for being here. And we do have a full agenda, so we'll try to be pretty stick to times. We'll start with public comment. We do want to keep that for just a few minutes.
Great. Great, well, thank you.
Yes.
So I'm Hector Gunther, I live in Osterville.
You want to set it up? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Microphone.
I'm Hector Gunther, I live in Osterville. I'm a member of the steering committee of Save Greater Dowson's Beach. Peter Hansen, also a member of the steering committee, and you may know Pete because he's an 18-year COM water commissioner.
Okay.
And we're here today just to raise a couple of issues that may or may not be, well, they're probably known to you guys. I mean, you're water professionals. And I have a couple of documents, including a memo and a letter, which I'm going to give to you after we speak. Pete and I are going to break up this brief talk a little bit. We're here to keep you informed and make two requests of the Cotuit Board of Water Commissioners regarding offshore wind power projects proposed by Avangrid for the town of Barnstable. We spoke last month to the Prudential Committee of the board, Fran Parks and her colleagues, and we wanted to keep them informed, but we realized the primary audience for this is the water commissioners. The first point is we believe that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has an obligation to review all three of the offshore wind projects that are, one is already landed in Barnstable, but there are two more proposed to land in Barnstable. The EPA, as you all know, has, courtesy of the Drinking Water Act of 1974, has a program called the Sole Source Aquifer Program. And under that program, EPA reviews of any project that's on top of or adjacent to a sole source aquifer anywhere in the country is subject to mandatory EPA review when a project receives federal financial assistance. And details about this are contained in our memorandum, which I'll give to you. But we and others, including the town of Barnstable, have begged the EPA to do a review, but they have opted out of doing a review on a technicality. And the technicality in a nutshell is the Avangrid is benefiting from federal investment tax credits, courtesy of the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Last October, Avangrid, with JP Morgan as the lead bank, did a $1.2 billion tax equity financing, the funds for which are going into helping support the Vineyard Wind project. And they will do two more of these transactions for each of the Park City Wind project, the second one to land at Craigville, and the third one, the Commonwealth Wind project, which is proposed for Dowson's. Our position is, and our lawyer's position is, that this is federal financial assistance. Yes, it's not a direct grant to Avangrid, but it's money. And JP Morgan would not have been able to raise that money without the tax credits. So what we believe is that the EPA review is mandatory. Pete and I and others from our steering committee we visited, this is the fourth water commission in the town of Barnstable. We're planning to go to all 14 other towns on the Cape and say, hey, you have a dog in this fight, and you should plead with the EPA in Washington to conduct a mandatory review, as we believe they're required to under the 74 Drinking Water Act. So we're asking, our first ask of you guys is to consider writing a letter to Michael Regan in Washington. He's the EPA administrator. And then there's a group in Boston in the Region 1 office. And we're asking you to consider writing a formal letter asking the EPA to review these three projects. Because as you know, all three substations are on top of or adjacent to the sole source aquifer, and two of them are adjacent to wellhead protection zones. So that's our first ask.
So actually, it's a couple questions.
Yeah, please.
And I don't know, maybe I haven't seen this, the project already with NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act. Is there a study that's been done or ongoing, what impacts, that's what you're looking for, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and then secondly, the other question is, we're, I recognize the sole source.
Yeah.
What happens in Provincetown really doesn't affect us.
Right, and there's a lot of debate about that, and I'm aware of that, but there is, if you have a spill or an explosion, depending on the extent of the spill, if you have a couple of gallons of toxic dielectric fluid, each of these substations has over 150,000 gallons.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Is there anything, what's the closest to us here where we have standing, meaning could be impacted?
Yes.
Water supply or anything in our well field?
Yes,
Where
yeah.
is it in well field? Our
Sorry?
well- Where is it within our well field?
Well, I'm not an expert on the well fields. All I'm saying is there is a potential for contamination, especially if there's either a major
Of our.
Cotuit's water supply.
We know.
So
Yeah.
maps that I've seen of the substations are all near Oak Street, between Oak Street and 132. There's one existing one now way out in Independence Park.
Right.
There's no groundwater flow that's ever gonna come to Cotuit from that area.
The only reason I'm asking, I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
concern, we're also gonna keep our time focused.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I work with a lot of lawyers and in
Yeah.
terms of standing comes
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
meaning we get to court, whatever, what's your standing? How will you be impacted?
And
My understanding is it's over in Osterville
And Hyannis.
and Hyannis, but not here. Am I wrong on that? I mean.
Well, it's not even hospital, it's West Barnstable, and Hyannis is where the storage of the dielectric fluids.
So I'm just trying to figure out how it might impact.
Yeah,
everyone
okay.
else.
So, I'm not an expert on the lenses. My understanding is there are 6 lenses and there's some debate of how the lenses interact, if at all.
Yeah.
I think you're saying that they don't interact, but
Mark and I don't blame the lenses.
All right.
That's an aside.
our point is, this is, as water commissioners under state law, you guys have a fiduciary
I think
duty
the point is
to your
that
customers.
the town of Barnstable certainly has standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And the affected water suppliers would have standing.
Tom certainly.
Right. Right.
Well, I'm not even sure Tom would, but it,
Didn't it go through,
Okay.
part of this was Osterville?
Well, 3 come ashore at Carbo's, Craigville,
Cave
Dowse.
not the
Right.
storage of the oil, which is what.
Okay, I see.
But that's where they come ashore, but it's the substations that work.
So what I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, but the model, we've already had.
Yes.
Yeah.
We take their information, we'll look at it. and,
Yeah,
okay.
Take it under advisement.
Yeah, and please don't read me wrong, I'm all for
Yeah.
environmental review and.
Yep, yep.
Well, know all about the soil source
Okay.
aquifer.
Okay.
That's the time to get the.
Okay,
Take
all
the
right.
soil source aquifer, designated, so I'm totally with you.
all right. So
I
I've
just
got,
don't understand our
yeah,
position.
yeah, I understand. I understand
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
have to discuss it. We'll leave a 9-page memo with
That'd be
you.
great.
And
That'd
then
be great.
Pete has the second, part 2 of our request.
Okay.
Just a few paragraphs on here. Commonwealth Wind, the third of Evergrade's proposed projects, which is proposed to land at Dow's Beach, is in the early stages of permitting. There's no purchase power agreements with utilities, no host community agreement with the town. Moreover, the town council has expressed its lack of interest in this project. Despite this, Evergrade continues to promote this project and rebidding it with the state. Commonwealth Wind includes construction of a massive substation on 28 acres at the Clay Hill Fire Tower. The substation will contain an estimated 200,000 gallons of toxic dielectric fluid. If there is any spill or fire, this could contaminate the Cape sole source aquifer, which supplies drinking water for 250,000 year-round Cape Cod residents. The proposed site is also a wellhead protection zone. Town of Barnstable and the Safe House have formally petitioned for full intervenor status with the EFSB for the Commonwealth Wind project. The deadline has passed to file for the Park City Wind/Craigville project. Given that the Cotuit Board of Water Commissioners have a direct interest in this matter, and given you fiduciary responsibility to protect your customers' drinking water, we are asking the Cotuit Fire District also to petition for full intervenor status, which actually is going to pass out. This will give Cotuit water officials a seat at the table during the EFSB permitting process. And for your information, we're providing with you a memo about this matter and a copy of the town's petition to intervene. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks for listening to us, appreciate
And
that.
I heard you say direct interest in it, so that's what we need to determine, what is our direct interest in it? Direct means to me.
Well,
We get an interconnection agreement with Com, so
Okay.
if
True.
they compromise their system, then that is not a way out.
Good point, good point.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll take a look at it, and I
Okay.
apologize for cutting you
No,
so
no.
much on the
Yeah.
agenda.
No, we appreciate it, wasn't
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, thank you, guys.
If we didn't think it was important, we wouldn't be here, so.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
thank you so much.
yeah. And, here's,
All right, wonderful, thank you.
leave that paperwork? Thank you very much.
and there's a memo, and there's a copy of the town house, Wall Street page.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you very much for hearing it, appreciate it.
Any other public comment?
Nothing right now. I'll take it for later.
We'll give you one later. So let's do a review of minutes.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
If you've got a chance to review, you want to do some minutes?
I have read and reviewed and had no corrections.
Better move that we accept.
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wonderful.
no, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
could we get the back minutes approved and posted on the fire district?
I just signed all of the back
Back of the minute, thank you.
today, so we get them posted. And my apology for not getting it done sooner.
I didn't mean to nag.
No, it's a good nap. So thank you. Done. Okay, we are up to the water quality and superintendent report. Mr. Wiseman.
All samples for bacteria came back really clear in April. We also did our BOWC our organic compound testing, and we didn't pick up anything in that either. So everything seems to be good there. We did get some sodium results. All of them aren't there. 3 of them got tested with the wrong method. They didn't do the EPA method, they did some other method. I don't know why, confusion with them because they're not on DEP site. According to the director at the lab. So he's gonna retest them and get them back to me, but he said he doesn't expect to change much at all, if anything. And the work results that he has now are between 20 and 22 between the 3 sites. So we do have an updated version of the pack. So here, if you want to review it later, now, just to keep us keeping up with our quarterly sampling. There will be 3 others put on before next week.
Okay, I do have a question or two on water quality monitoring, but I'll maybe ask the other commissioners first. Any questions on what Chris has reported so far?
Only that there is no EPA at a maximum contaminant level for sodium. The state sets 20 milligrams.
It's just, yeah, I think it's.
And then, and what is the SCML? I'm confused by that in granular water. Suggested, and that's for aesthetic reasons.
It's not regulated.
The sodium?
Yes.
That's been done?
Yeah.
It's an advisory, so it doesn't shut down the water supply. What it requires is that we advise our residents, our customers, that we have elevated sodium levels in the water supply in case there are, salt restricted diet issues.
What triggers the advisory? Because
20 milligrams per liter.
so we'd be triggering an advisory now. It
We
looks like
discussed that in the past, and I can't remember where we ended up. Chris, you wanna?
I'm sorry, that I couldn't really get the whole.
Why are we triggering the advisory?
Yes, and that's why we have to post it in the
It's in a report.
Correct, it's in a water quality report. If you look at it, it'll say, if you have, hypertension, you might want to talk to a doctor about the levels that are in the tube.
there it is. Okay.
And I will mention, and I'll be careful how I say this, but the amount, 20 parts per million, the amount of sodium salt in the water is quite low compared to the normal diet, so in my own opinion, this is not a threat to people compared to what most people are eating. You know, for example, if they eat bread, that probably has a lot more in it. So I'm not trying to minimize it, but it's not an acute, in my opinion, it's not an acute. So I think we're doing the right thing. We're advising people, we should keep working on it. But I don't see it as, you know, a real huge problem.
Doesn't seem to be increasing.
I don't think so. I can tell you, I work for the internet around.
Yeah, it's kind of leveling out right now, and it's very minimal with both.
I'll just mention, one of my clients is Manchester by the Sea in the North Shore. They're averaging about 150 milligrams per liter.
That was my next question. I understand that, water supplies near the coast in New Hampshire and elsewhere are way.
Oh, yeah,
three digits.
oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Not exactly, you know, land bank.
True, sure. So, yeah, it's something that people.
The consumer bounty reports there that you got, when you were looking around about the different levels of PFAS and stuff.
Yeah.
They'll have a sodium report in there, and Hyannis has quite a problem. You know, people like Dennis, they told me they got like 76 in one of their wells. You know, it just depends where you are, you know, it might be real close, they might be having a saltwater treatment, I don't know.
Yeah, interesting.
So Chris, my quick question on this, which really come up later in the agenda, but I'll mention it now since we're talking about water quality is, Dave and I, we were talking about iron and manganese.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jen the other day, we do that once a year in the spring, I think, April, May, June, maybe. And something we should look at because it could trigger treatment requirements, as Dave brought up in a prior discussion. So I was hoping we could graph and analyze if iron and manganese maybe has gone down since we've been pumping less.
I can check, I know that we're supposed to test for manganese, I believe, once a year, and we have secondaries also.
Yep.
Which we testing, secondaries is a voluntary thing, we're supposed to do it every 3 years.
Right.
We try to do it every year,
Yeah.
just to keep up.
I think that's
what's
what's
going on. So, let me check that.
We can look at that over the past, let's say, 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7.
That would be useful. And the other quick question is, PFAS sampling, which I sent an email around. I think we should look into doing a little more of this. Who do we use to do sampling and analysis? Do we have a contract?
Right now, we Boston County, they do it, and they send it out to,
The county does it?
yeah, they do it now, they don't do it here, they actually set it up, but they're trying to get certified.
Or they have, who does the sample?
We do sampling and send it to them. Now, right now, I think they send it to ground, analytical, or to, Europeans.
All right, thanks. We'll come back to that. All right, let's, unless there are other questions on the water quality, we'll move on to superintendent's report.
Okay. Superintendent's report, read on April 17th for March, please. In March of 2023, we pumped 6,984,000 gallons of water. In March of 2024, we pumped 6,781,000 gallons of water, for a difference of 203,000 less than last year. All our testing, I mean, our public has been down, the all went along also, you know, I'm thinking people are moving back home. We're not getting as many people that were here year round as we were. But I've still been taking rain levels just to see, because I'm curious all the time. In 2023, we had 3.78 inches of rain. And in 2024, we had 4.99. So there's about an inch and a half difference in rain there too, not that it would really matter in the winter. But, you know, people in March might be cleaning up the yard, the cars, stuff like that also. Under association use, not much to really report there, except that everybody's still out their spring training schedule. Which, like I said, I think was last week. John spent upon it to see if we can get some, try to get his D1 and T1 class so that you can take those tests. But we did just get some from Mass Rural also, that their spring classes are, one of them real close, most of them are towards northern Mass. Excuse me, western Mass. We didn't have any new services. We didn't have any replacement services or leaks all of March. We did have a bit of it on the 11th for our Lewis Pond project over there, where we were replacing a water main within the larger main. There is in this pack a kind of a synopsis of it. We had 5 different bids. Going from 184,500 up to 244,790. So we have award, tried to award. I have given a notice of award to company by the name of GFM Enterprise Incorporated. They came back. The gentleman who did the opening said they're very reputable. Had plenty of stuff on. I do not have the authority to sign the contract unless you give it to me. So if you guys want to discuss and accept it, the bid, you can give me the authority to do it so we can try to get it going as quick as possible. I don't have to have you guys go to my hands to sign it or anything like that.
Any thoughts on that, commissioners? Should we doing that?
To authorize Chris to sign the
Yeah.
contract. I move.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And this is good. We're trying to get it done before summertime, so
Yeah.
we're trying to get it. It's not a very large project, so I know not looking at the figures. It doesn't look like it looks like a large project, but it's a short 700 job. It shouldn't take more than a week to do. Thank you. So we got it. Tom Kimberly and John went down and set up the test wells to be tested over on Newtown Road and on Mariner Circle. We have not tested them yet, but I have the we Kaiser over at Hyannis has bought themselves a pump for pumping them, so you don't have to sit there and pump them out by hand. He has the actual pump, so Tom dropped that off on Friday. We can put a board on the back of it and pump those out so we can get a good sample out of them.
Does this include the new well we put in?
Yeah, the 2 new wells, yeah, this is for those. We've been trying to get them for the last 3 months,
Yeah.
but it's been so up and down, it's been tough all raining.
We're gonna analyze the PFAS.
Yeah, they're gonna be PFAS.
We're guessing on timing on that.
He wants to get to it, I think, before the end of the month here, he wants to get up there and do it. It's been
I
a
think
pretty,
we could move, let's push on that. Let's get that done. We've been talking about it for a while. I think, we'd like to know the results of that.
yeah,
Anything else, Chris?
yeah. You wanna make a note there?
That's it?
No, I got one more, sorry, couple of them, sorry. Just a quick update on the, water test that we had last month about the meter. The people paid the bill online with no comment to us. There wasn't a phone call, there wasn't anything, they just paid the fine. And, I'll need to put the change in meter out and didn't even make a comment to us about it, so they apparently knew it was there. Got caught and said, oh, we have to pay.
That was the bypass.
Yeah. And last, a little bit on the PFAS litigation that we have out there. I think I told you last time that we settled with 2 different companies that have gone to settlement. And one of them, there was somebody that was fighting it, I guess we'll say. They had withdrawn their fight, basically. And so now it's going to the point where I think that within 60 days, we might get an award from it. And also, in the meantime, we've come to a third agreement with a company called Tyco, which is about 5 or 6 different firefighting phone companies. So they've actually came to an agreement also with them. So now we're on a third agreement. Well, that's update that we have.
It's actually moved pretty fast as far as.
Well, now, probably people are like, I want to get it on the town before everybody else backs off.
Right.
Right.
Certainly getting a lot of press.
All right, Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners for Chris on the superintendent's report?
Yep.
If not, let's move on to the article, the conservation restriction at 4609 Falmouth Road.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna recuse myself, Mark Robinson, from this discussion based on a business relationship I have with the proponent, Barnstable Land Trust.
Okay, thank you. Oh, good. Janet, can you hear us?
I can.
Welcome in spirit. Do you want to speak to this, Janet?
Sure. And I think I was here a couple weeks ago on the same topic. Now we have an offer accepted on this property and are working on the purchase and sale agreement and are looking for some financial support from the Water District, as well as going to the Community Preservation Committee in the town of Barnstable and the Commonwealth for a conservation partnership grant. So I think I probably don't need to repeat the value of this land for the water district. It also has very high conservation value in other ways. It abuts land that Barnstable Land Trust owns. We are checking, but we believe there's a vernal pool on it, and it's just would be a really wonderful addition to conservation land in the village. And so we are hoping that tonight you will approve the article for a contribution of $50,000 to the conservation of this property in return for co-holding a conservation restriction.
Okay, well, Janet, thank you for being here, first of all, and congratulations on securing the agreement on the land. That's exciting. Dave, do you have any thoughts on the motion here or any questions for Janet?
Just a question, have we ever applied for a state drinking water supply protection grant? I believe it has a $350,000 limit. According to the state, it provides financial assistance to public water systems and municipal water departments for the purchase of land or interest in land for the following purposes: protection of existing DEP approved public drinking water supplies, protection of planned future public drinking water supplies, or groundwater recharge. It is a reimbursement program.
Good question. Have we? You know, Chris, or
Not 10-year tenure.
I know that we have a small chunk of land with conservation restrictions on around Station 3 when they put in 671 Main. I have that someplace at the office. And we participated, as I said before, over here, we put in, I think, 220,000, something like that, to help out with the town of Barnstable to make sure that there was a water conservation restriction on the land over by Knoll Park. Right. The town of Barnstable bought land around the park. We put a restriction on the rest of the land, I believe. And that might even be on there on the Barnstable Land Trust website. I think it says fire department, though, instead of fire district, thanks to the fire department. Sign there or something like that.
yeah, I think it's a good idea. I don't know what will be involved in applying for it, but why don't we give it a try? Janet, are you familiar with this funding source? Is this something, would it mess up the timing of things if we were to apply for this grant? How would that work?
It's a reimbursement grant, so we could go forward with this amendment,
And we
this
could second
one,
it.
and then in a
Yeah.
second motion,
I think,
go apply.
I think that's a great idea. Janet, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we helped the town of Barnstable. I couldn't hear Chris that well, so I'm not sure if this is what he was talking about, but the town of Barnstable was successful in getting a drinking water supply, drinking water protection grant. I think there's two different grants you can apply for the Wakeby Road parcel. And that was through the COM district was co-holding the CR on it. But I think it's an excellent idea, and
Yeah.
Mark Robinson, even though he's recusing himself from the vote, could certainly provide some details on that. And we can also look into the timing. That's my only question, is when the application period is for that grant. And how that would work with the closing date, so.
Well, that's, I
do
think we should look into it, as Dave's suggesting, maybe it's a reimbursement, maybe it doesn't affect the timing of moving ahead with the purchase and we get reimbursed later, but I think it's a great idea. I don't know who can put a little time into looking into the process, the application process, but maybe would Mark have a conflict in doing that, do you think, Janet, assisting us?
We can certainly do that.
You can, okay, well, why don't you,
Yeah.
if you could look into that, that'd be great, and, but I guess what you're looking for us tonight is supporting, you want to restate the request once again? For us tonight?
An article,
Yeah.
that proposes the voters authorize the Cotuit Fire District to spend $50,000 to acquire for water supply protection purposes a conservation restriction
Yeah.
or watershed preservation restriction to be jointly held with the town of Barnstable at 4609 Falmouth Road.
Oh, there it is, yeah. Okay. You want to move that?
Yeah, I move that we approve the warrant article for the annual meeting of the Cotuit Fire District as written. I'll read it into the record. To see if the Cotuit Fire District voters will authorize the Cotuit Fire District to transfer, borrow, and or raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to acquire pursuant to Article 97 and the amendments to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for water supply protection purposes, a conservation restriction, a watershed preservation restriction pursuant to MGL Chapter 184, subsections 31 to 33, to be jointly held with the town of Barnstable on 5.84 acres, more or less, of land located in a wellhead protection district for wells number 1, number 2, and number 4 in Cotuit Village, being shown on Barnstable Assessor's Map 024 as of parcel 042, be under the control of the Board of Water Commissioners. In furtherance of this objective, the Cotuit Fire District is hereby authorized to expend up to $50,000 for the purchase of said restriction. Said land shall be open to the general public for appropriate outdoor passive recreational use while consistent with 310 CMR 22.00. Said land is more fully described in a plan of land entitled Plan of Subdivision of Land in Cotuit, Mass, Barnstable, Mass, for Theodore NIGRO. Scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, dated May 1973, prepared by Robert H. Waite, registered land surveyor, West Yarmouth, Mass, and recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds and Plan Book 278, page 18. This article is recommended by the Board of Water Commissioners and the Prudential Committee.
I'll second that. On favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done, I was signed it. For the pens. And this Prudential Committee, they're gonna have to go to this too, right? We did present this to them. They did not take action on it?
So the last item in our agenda.
Okay.
We will need to go before them to
Right.
discuss the changes to our budget.
Yep.
The recommendation of this article, the recommendation of the legislature are.
Okay, excellent.
And that means
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you very much.
And I think that we move on to PFAS, Jack, we have 2 items. First, an update from Dave on the council meeting, the workshop. And then we're gonna talk about in-home product public outreach, but I'll let you take the lead there.
Yeah, I'll be fairly quick because I know that the commissioners have a copy of sort of my written report, and perhaps we can put that on the record, but it was a long meeting last week. It was fairly fruitful and very informative. The big piece of news to me, which begs the question, was that the Deputy Commissioner, John Beeling at the Mass DEP, said that because of the new EPA limits past the date before of 4 nanograms per liter for PFAS that COM, our abutting water district, is in violation of 3 of their wells. I don't know where those wells are, but it begs the question of what is our status? I believe that we were not named by the commissioner as being in violation, and by my reading, perhaps the superintendent can back me up. It looks like we are okay, and under no potential deadline to treat and test more than we have above and beyond. Other than that, we were last on the agenda. It was a long evening. The councilors retired. So the headline that I gave you was short and sweet, which is we have not been at any time in violation of the maximum contaminant levels. And that I gave them a timeline of when the Board of Water Commissioners began testing, actually before the state issued its MCL, that we've been on top of it. We have notified as early as 2019. Commissioner Robinson put a statement on the fire district website telling people that due to press coverage that we were on top of it, and in support of Senator Sears' legislation to ban PFAS products on the Commonwealth. Council was very happy with our state of affairs. Asked if we had any concerns about, because we're the westernmost fire district and the closest to the base. And I said, according to what we know and what Tom Camber area sole source has told us, we're a long way away from that plume, not under any immediate threat, but that yes, we've detected PFAS on several occasions in some wells, with the exception of well 5, and that we believe, in lieu of an obvious source, that it's coming from residential septic. That then led me to say that we were pursuing the warrant article in the next fire district's annual meeting to give us authorization to pursue an amendment to our enabling legislation to look at solutions to mediate that residential threat. They like that idea quite a bit. Several councilors cited the Silent Spring report from 2015 that showed a correlation between septic effluent and PFAS contamination. So that was about it.
Well, thanks again for attending the meeting, for your great written report and your current oral report. It was really helpful and I think really well done and informative. And is that, we post that report on the, have we posted that report on the website? I think we should do that. I think it's a good, your summary is very good. And I think this is a very important issue. So let's post it. Are we okay with that, Dave? It's on the website. And I have 2 questions, which Chris, I'm going to direct to you. I probably should know the answer to this, and I don't. But 2 questions are: I think the new standard is there's a 5-year period. If you could explain what that means in terms of what we have to comply, and maybe first and foremost, what Dave said is the standard applied to each well, or is it to the water that we deliver to the home?
My understanding is at each well, like you were saying, they have 3 wells that have seeded.
Yep.
So more than likely it's the FOA or the PFAS that's going over the pool.
Okay.
The others were 10, still stayed, they went to 10 instead of 20, a couple of them. It's weird because the PFAS 6 now is a PFAS 4 almost, and then other stuff underneath, like 4 or 5 other stuff that's on there that they do an equation of.
Right.
The Gen X stuff, was that that was one test. That was
I'm still in, I wish there could be more.
Yeah, that's all right.
To you, but the 5, I believe that you have 5 years of testing to figure out if you're gonna have to do the problems, what I was saying,
now,
thinking.
yeah, sorry.
So if you completely all in like who does, we got 6 months out of one of our stations.
Yes.
But the next time we tested it, it was down to 2.
Right.
2.6 or something like that. Right now, we do have 3 stations that I've had a 2.4, 2.3, 2 exactly. Then we have what they call a J factor, where there's a slight there, but they don't recognize it unless it's over 2. So we have something like 1.47 of different things, so until it gets to 2, that's when you have to report. So we actually had some more done through our litigation, and they came in back in November. They were stolen, and they didn't, if anything, they were about the same as they were back when we took them. I think it was March of last year. So the funniest thing about this whole thing is the day that they came out with that, and announced it, we had plans to pick up PFAS samples at every sample. We had everything with us. And we went out there and tested it like this one. Let's go. Knowing that everything was just down. So it takes a little while to get the PFAS results back. So until then, we're crossing the fingers and knocking on wood every day. Just because it's not that hard. I mean, you could get a fluke that came through, you know, like it did before. And it's scary for everybody. And I was surprised because I was there, you know, 2 weeks before, or 3 weeks before with Mark. And Craig sat up there and said, my samples, everything we got excellent. You know, and they were protecting that all the regulations, as soon as the regulation changed, it went from being excellent to, oops, not anymore.
So from looking at Dave's compilation of data, my recollection is well number 1, the well that's in the middle of the main well.
Yeah.
That's been as high as 9 managing per liter, I believe,
At
9.3 or something.
Yeah.
And that's the one.
So I mean, it could have been something that was built on the road again, you know, somebody up there, you know, could have spilled something on the road there. I don't know. No, you know, I didn't realize that's like the other day, which shocking.
So here are my suggestions. Number 1 is, I think we need to get clarification on exactly what our responsibilities are.
Yep.
I'm not clear on it right now. I suspect a lot of people are. This is a new rule.
Right.
And I don't know whether that's something you're comfortable finding out, or we could bring Tom Camberry back in, who seems to be on top of this.
Yeah, Tom, I can discuss a little more with him, when he comes back. I mean, there are classes coming up on this also that's gonna explain the new.
We could put on the agenda for the next meeting to try to get, and I'll leave it up to you, Chris, we can talk, but if you want to bring Tom in or somebody else, I think I'd like to get a very clear report of exactly what the responsibilities are over the next 5 years here. And if in fact that well number 1 is the one that looks like it's in jeopardy. That's my quick read. I'm looking at the data that they put together. So I think that's important for the next step, and then I think we need to really start thinking about, which is really the next item on the agenda, what we're going to do about this.
Right, and we're already looking at station 4 and station 1 that are right beside each other. Are starting to get very close readings on as the lower readings, like I'm saying, 2.6, 2.4, 2.5, 2.5, something like that.
So why don't we just, unless people want to talk further about what the standard is or what we need to do, my suggestion is we talk about that at the next meeting with as good of a definitive report as we can get. But I think the next thing on the agenda is, you know, getting into what our strategy is here to deal with this. And I think we talked about this at the Civic Association meeting last night. And I want to sort of reiterate my suggestions, but I certainly want the other commissioners' thoughts, because this is a challenging issue for sure. But it strikes me that, you know, I agree with Dave said earlier. My estimate at this point is septic system probably is our most likely source, given we don't have. By the way, I should mention, I did reach out to Adam Zeiss and ask him as a fire commissioner, what about firefighting foam? And we can try to drill down this a little bit, but he did contact other commissioners and maybe the superintendent, the chief, excuse me. And the report that I recall getting back was they haven't used that material.
Correct. There's another stored in the fire station, what I was told the last time I got.
So that doesn't look like a source.
No. No, I mean, not that they have it in the past, I mean, years ago, they did,
Yeah, yeah.
but once they found out it was bad, they took it out and they said, well, this stuff. You know, as you can see, you were in Holland. They used to do.
How long ago was that do we think that they stopped using it? Because we probably had a multi-year flow time.
I believe it was a change. Which you took it all, he took everything out, I believe,
How long ago was
probably 10 years ago,
that? Okay.
I would say.
My suggestion is, let's just clarify that. Just
Okay.
We want to make sure. If we could ask Tom what the flow time is from Route 28 to the well, I'm guessing it's less than 10 years, so we can kind of rule out that as a likely source. And if that's the case, then the only thing we're left with, I think, is septic systems and household. So my thought is that step number one, which is fairly easy, is we educate ourselves and our residents on household products. To my surprise, I've been reading a lot about this. Toilet paper is a significant source, and you can pick. There's some toilet paper that has none in it, and some and it's about the same price. So if that's true.
Just I'm like curious, is it the flushable wipes that are having it?
So if we could come up with a list of here's 5 or 6 normal household products that these have PFAS, these don't. Why don't we communicate that to our residents is one thought I have. For starters, that's pretty easy to do. And remember the other side of this is not just getting in the water, but shampoo has PFAS. I'm guessing a lot of people in the village don't want to be rubbing it into their scalp. Right? So it's good, this is good for people to know about anyways, in my opinion. So that would be one suggestion. And then the other thing that I mentioned, I think I sent an email on this is, I had a question last night from somebody. Do we know that these new septic systems that I've been talking about, the wood chip bioreactors, remove PFAS? And we don't have a definitive answer to that yet. We know that they do remove other synthetic organic compounds like pharmaceuticals and flame retardants. I am in regular communication with a researcher in Long Island by the name of Dr. Chris Gobler, who's one of the experts on this. He feels it's likely, but the data doesn't exist. So what I've suggested, and I was talking with Zeke Proctor today, is we have a people bond project. We've got 11 or 12 septic that have been upgraded. We can go sample all 11 or 12 of those, the influent and effluent PFAS, and see what we get. Yeah, I think it might be the first study on the Cape, or maybe anywhere.
That's not already tested by.
No, they haven't done them. They have not done PFAS. They're doing nitrogen.
Oh.
And so my thought is that, and I sent an email to Brian Baumgartel and at the Mass Tech Center who does this testing. So I'm gonna try to push to get that done because we've got a nice case study right here in Barnstable. Where we've got 11 systems, and my thought would be the composite sample, meaning you go take 11 influents, put those together as one sample, you take 11 effluents after the nitro wood chip, put those together as one sample, now we have 2 samples. Composites, we have those analyzed for PFAS. So that's my suggestion.
I was just wondering, the clean water, so not at all, even if they're already testing.
I spoke to Z today, he said he'd be happy to, it's his study, his access to the system.
Yeah.
But he would prefer somebody else to pay for the PFAS analysis.
Right.
So I'm thinking what the cost is of doing it per sample?
I think we're only $3 a piece now.
All right, 2 samples.
Yeah, I'll know definitely,
Yeah.
you know, in a little while, like I said, we just tested, but, this is just my own, this isn't the same thing as like what we're trying to do. Can we pay for another town's?
Well, the EPA is funding the Clean Water Coalition's trial, so isn't just lean on the EPA?
I've spoken to the people at EPA who said they were gonna do some of this analysis, but, and I spoke to Z about that this morning, this could be a long time before we get back. My thought is we shortcut that and go grab the samples ourselves. But EPA may report on it eventually.
There are 3 commissioners here, if it costs $600, we could each chip in $200.
We could each what, put in $200? We ourselves? Yeah, I would do that.
But you want to redevelop it.
I don't mind doing that, but why can't we put this in our own budget? We got water quality testing.
We got one, but I just did not, I'm just thinking of legality and stuff, but can we take that to another town? And that's not currently influencing, just with the whole thing going on now, where we're trying to change the legislation. and all that, I don't know what's written there, but it's not. I would just say, if you wanted to, let's make a phone call to Mark and just make sure it's.
Well, I think I'll put it in $30 if we have to do it. But I think we should move on it, and if somebody wants to sue me or challenge me in court that we're spending district money, I'll get a lawyer and defend myself. I'm not worried about it. I think we should do it. It's information. We've been talking about doing this project. We've got a study. We got a location to do the testing 10 miles away. I can't imagine why that would be perceived as a wasteful expenditure.
It's really important to have a protocol, who does the sampling, how they're doing
Well,
it.
that's what I was getting at.
I would want, I mean, isn't there somebody at DEP that is the official sampler or something that could do it, so there's no.
Well, that's why I was asking who does the sample.
I don't want, they send us a little video, and tell us how to take it. Don't use your roll on, don't wear any water resistant shirts. Don't shampoo that morning, you know, they have a whole bunch of rules. Use a certain type of pen, you know, and.
Here's another suggestion. How about Tom Cambreri? We already have,
Tom,
we can hire Tom that would get information for us.
he would be the guy to talk to about, you know, testing and those. This would be the first guy to tell the truth. I'm going to test the test well for a few classes. I'm going to go out with him to do it this month. I've done the stations because I have a sample cap there that tell you to turn it on, make sure you get down into the well, let it run for 20 minutes. That's why it took us to 2 o'clock in the afternoon to test 5 wells.
I agree the sampling's gonna be done correctly. I suspect Tom does know how to do it.
Yeah, he did all of those, but I assisted with those, yeah. Back when the fire cameras were coming.
So what do we think about maybe having Tom? Yeah,
What about manufacturer? Aren't they located on Vineyard?
manufacturer of,
When I
oh, they
didn't they have this, didn't it be in their interest to test this? Make some,
maybe. I'm thinking of the timing here just to get this damn thing done. Yeah, I've talked to them about it too, but
Well, the timing and, you know, the legislation is gonna be ready here,
if that, I don't know.
because the way things work in. State House, they take up these home rule petitions at the end of the session, so that would be a year from now. Assuming a district approves it. Next month.
When's the date of the district meeting? May 29th. So if we moved on this soon, might have the results. The question that we gotta ask is, tonight is to simply remove it. If we did it soon, we might have that answer. At least a preliminary answer. By then, how long does it take to get the results back from the lab?
It's about 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah, because they got to send them out and then come back. I was just sorry, I picked this up and I can see if I have an email from Tom and who we talked to about getting price and everything.
Well, I don't want to take any time on this, we've already spent, but those are my recommendations. And I'll leave it up to the commissioners to decide how and when we want to move with this, but I think those are the 2 steps that I see here.
We'll have to get a cost from Tom
Okay,
to do the work,
you asked for that.
the sampling. Is-
Yeah, I'll talk. Boy, I'm gonna really kind of see this week.
All right, let's keep going here. Got a few more things to cover.
Want to do anything for public notification at this time?
For the feedback, well, that's actually that, thank you. So, Jen made a very good first step on a advisory for the, or informational to the.
oh, the town council loved the pamphlet.
You like that?
They liked that idea a lot.
Chris?
I was just gonna, I'm sorry, my note, how many festivals were there, did you say?
At Schubel's?
Yeah,
Well, there's 11 systems, but I think we could composite them.
just on one.
So you 2 samples. One sample is, you take 11 samples from the septic, put them in one container. That's the influent.
Yeah,
Then you take all 11 septic effluent samples, you put them in one container. So you have 2 samples at the end, composites. You test those.
okay.
I can talk to Tom about it, I'll understand. So on the informational, Jen and I did post the Time magazine article And I did contact the author of that article who agreed we could post it publicly or even print it. So that's been done, but I think we want to keep going on the pamphlet idea. And I did reach out to my teaching assistant at Tufts, who's extremely good at research projects. And what I'd like to do is take a little burden off Jen and have her do a little research on this and try to, further details. I think we talked about maybe 10, 15 hours of her time, $20 an hour to research what might be out there for advising the public on which products might have PFAS. What I'm trying to do is isolate the ones in the home that go down the drain versus the ones that are in the home that don't go down. Because our focus, I think, is on the drinking water, not so much on what people get exposed to in the household. I mean, that's certainly.
But if you buy a piece of clothing that has it, then put that in the
Yes.
wash. That's
Anything that goes in the washing machine is game. Toilet paper is surely game. Shampoo's game, so that's what I want her to look at. Fine tune that list and just do some research on, what the best.
There isn't a comprehensive list of products that EPA has by now.
Well, that's the question. I started looking at it, I couldn't find anything definitive, it's focused on what goes down the drain. A lot of the stuff is what's in the house, like furniture, I forget what else is in there, I mean,
But does it say just toilet paper, or does it specify which brands?
well, that's again, part of the research that one of the articles that was referenced, which I started looking at, but again, I only put 3 or 4 hours into this. And I could take more, and that's what I'm asking her to do, would be to drill down on that, because every time you read an article with references, you go to those articles, the references, try to get at which of the products is, there's a lot of people writing about this quite a bit, there's a lot of interest. So I just think it is something we should keep looking
Well,
into.
there's no point telling people toilet paper has it unless you're gonna tell them which ones don't.
And one of the
Otherwise,
articles,
we're not gonna use toilet paper.
one of the articles I looked at did mention name brands. I actually can remember, Charmin was bad. What was the good one?
Flush the Charmin.
Cottonelle was good. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what the article, but there's lists.
I think this is Scott.
I think Scott's what it was. I might have a conflict. But no, there are product lists that, at least by these other references. But again, this is brand new stuff, and I just think it requires, if we're gonna put out information.
Environmental Working Group has consumer guides, personal care products, they have the whole list. And they're like pretty much the big group on this stuff. EWG.org.
I mean, we can all do a little research on this, but I think we gotta come up with if we're gonna put something out to our people, we gotta make sure it's well done and correctly referenced. Because we might have some pushback, who knows, we might have, Mr. Sharman following us and. Right, so we wanna make sure.
Mr. Whipple? Was it Mr. Whipple? Please, the chaplain.
All right.
Consumer reports might pass.
Yeah.
They do. And also I would recommend that if we go out with a pamphlet or advisory, we also maybe put some information in there about water filtration and
Yeah, so that's a good point, yes, if people want to take a precautionary measure, they can do that.
Power filters, yeah. Active power, yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of PFAS, why don't we move on to bylaw committee update, David?
there are going to be no bylaw changes recommended by the bylaw subcommittee. Yeah.
That's nice.
I was glad I read the bylaws before the first meeting, because the first question from one of the fire commissioners was, were we still applying a $20 meter fee to the stabilization fund? And I was able to say, yes, we are. Other than that, no, there's nothing to propose.
Thank you. Report, thank you. Water bill, report, Jen?
So Mr. Tuluka is not with us, just as a quick update, as I will get back to the discussion tonight. We did send the meter out to be tested through the weekend. It came back The report's on the third page of that packet, but it did come back that it was reading within the AWWA accuracy limits at a quarter gallon per minute, 2 gallons per minute, and 15 gallons per minute. They put about 200 gallons through more than 200 gallons through the meter. So it is registering accurately, and the cost for that test was $65. As we had discussed at the last meeting, you had wanted to see what the adjustment would look like if we provided that from this, to Luca. Following our regular leak adjustment protocol, he would be responsible for double his highest usage, which was 83,000 gallons, so double at 166. Leaving the remaining 372,000 gallons at what we estimated would be the cost to supply that water based on the provisions of the data rate adjustment cost of service study.
What's
Before
that work out to in dollars?
it's up to $3.27 per thousand gallons for the things that directly affect the cost of delivering water.
What was the total cost?
So that would be a total cost of him of $3,429.44, providing if you choose, if we vote to approve that relief, it would be relief to the customer in the amount of $9,603.
So it goes from 9,600 down to 3,000.
It goes from 13,033
Down.
down to 34,244.
Oh, so it's a $9,000 reduction.
Using the
This is a really strange one. I mean, this spike in pumpage at this poor guy's house is astonishing. That's a lot of water.
It is.
Where'd it go? I mean, that's like flood the neighborhood.
Yeah. So look at it. Look at it. Giant,
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's any attempt to defraud or steal water from us. I think that, and given that the meter came up, okay,
Yeah.
who knows?
So $3,400 bill is still a very substantial bill.
Yeah.
It's not what I can find.
No.
And there were no, he does have in-ground irrigation, is that correct?
Yeah, we did talk about that. And I'm not sure there's a really good way to determine whether there's a leak in that or not.
He claimed that there wasn't.
I did say that, but I don't know how they.
He had somebody look at it. Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, he did have somebody look and say that it was sound tight.
well, I think we can make a decision on this.
So,
entertaining.
what I like is that Jen is consistent in applying her formula. I call it her formula. Because nobody else understands it. She learned it somewhere. At least she's consistent, so I'm gonna move that we authorize this reduction. You know, and it's a one-time thing. If it happens again, it doesn't have to get the relief out of me. It just is so abnormal compared to all. If there were other years that were reaching close to that, that would be different, but they're all so consistently much lower. And there's some anomaly here. We can't explain.
So your motion is,
To accept the relief offered and
we take it down to, what's the cost, 3,000?
3,420.
Is there a second on that?
Second,
I was just, before we vote on it, I was just wondering if we could amend it slightly to show good faith that this is such and maybe knock another grand off or something as a consideration.
no, I think we're applying the.
Stick with it consistently.
yeah, I'd like to be consistent.
Okay.
If his tenant left the hose on in the backyard and that's what happened. Yeah, that's not.
All right.
It's not on us, it's on him.
All in favor, say aye. Done. Yeah, that's a weird one. Okay, let's see, enabling legislation.
Meeting can recap the mystery.
That's an interesting, yeah, I don't know, we were all there. We get to talk about it much.
The- Were those, was that recorded last night?
It was,
It was.
yes.
Yeah. So why don't we just refer people to the recording from yesterday?
Like on there, and it's a good idea.
I would just wanted to say that on my policy for affordable access to water, that we've had this for a year. We've taken public comment multiple times. We've discussed it multiple times. I've amended it to reflect a lot of the comments that have come in. I didn't hear anything last night that was different than I'd heard before. There aren't any ulterior motives here. It's simply the policy is expressed very clearly in the first paragraph that we're trying to respond to the rights of the people of Cotuit to have a safe, clean drinking water supply that's accessible to them in affordable fashion, as suggested in the state constitution and our charter, and that we are trying to do this in a revenue neutral way. And if it's not revenue neutral, then we can always adjust it again. In fact, the policy would require us at the beginning of FY 27 to examine the effect to see if we can discern any type of undue reductions in revenues. And I think that this is something that, as a matter of policy, but also as a matter of the right of the district. If some people are getting a discount that they don't deserve, so be it. We can't be doing means testing on this kind of level. And I think that it's fair to everybody. There's no changes in tax law that I've ever seen that is fair to everybody. This is not a tax, it's a fee, but nevertheless, I think we're trying to do right by all of the people in the district by supporting this. I hope you'll vote to approve it. I'm going to move that we adopt the policy as presented and to take effect July 1st, 2024, which is the beginning of the new fiscal year.
Second?
I second.
And I'll just add before we vote that I think we're definitely heading in the right direction here, and it's hard to argue. We're conserving water, we're increasing our revenues. People pay the bills for pumping the water, that's willingness to pay. So if somebody says unfair, well, they're paying the bill as opposed to putting their own private well in. So it's hard for them to make an argument that we're impacting somebody unfairly. They have an option. And some people, I think, as we suggested, oh, you're going to keep paying the bill, and that's okay. It'll help us pay for our service, but I think we're heading towards our goals. So I think it's really good, and that's the only thing I wanted to add to it. So thanks for your efforts on this. Oh, yes.
Could we amend that to include the change in the billing frequency?
Yes. You mentioned that to me yesterday, and I forgot to bring it up. And I printed it out and it didn't bring it. So what are the amendments?
So, when we discussed implementing this, we also discussed moving to a semi-annual billing rather than quarterly. So since we're reducing the cost of the minimum use down to $20, it doesn't make sense to have a separate bill run that will cost the district money in invoicing and ink and printing and postage and envelopes, etc. So we would like to move to semi-annual billing and include the $20 for the first 10,000 plus the stabilization fee on the July and January excess use bills.
Does that have any, do we have to discuss that with the treasurer in terms of cash flow or anything?
Or do we need to post that as an agenda item as new business?
It was discussed previously with the affordable access to drinking water proposal.
Yeah, it was. So it's been aired. It makes eminent sense to cut down the billings. Absolutely. Yeah, so
I accept that amendment.
I accept that.
Okay. All in favor?
It's just a curiosity, we wouldn't be actually starting this, the bill wouldn't show up in January, correct? We have to finish the year. If it takes place starting in January, the first bill will be going on in January.
It'll be effective July 1st of 24.
Right, they wouldn't be charged till January.
Correct.
Okay.
So we'll issue bills.
So we get enough
tomorrow.
time, yes, we have time to see the system and everything else over the week from after this.
That's a simple turn it on.
Okay, so motion been seconded and agreed to as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good, thank you. Cyber security.
I'll go back to my little troll. About
Who's speaking to cyber security, Chris?
Oh, sorry.
Did we ever vote on your enabling legislation?
No, yeah,
No.
I guess we did.
So we have a letter in the packet here that is expressing the I think what we did, we had a draft from our attorney. I suggested some edits. What's been put here in through the letter dated April 17th to the treasurer and the convention committee is reflects the changes that I suggested.
Okay.
Did the attorney review those changes? Yeah.
Oh, did he? Okay.
So, I like the way it reads
Yeah.
now because it's what I wrote. And so this is a letter from the commission. Asking them to put on the district meeting warrant, an article that would create a home rule petition from the district to ask the legislature.
Yeah.
To provide a change to the enabling legislation to allow the water commission to do improvements on private property to protect water quality. And so I think that we should vote to authorize Scott to sign this letter to the district.
It's on the back.
That's a motion?
Oh, okay.
There it is. Oh, okay. Yeah. Second?
Did you second it?
I do, I said.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You'll get me a letter on that and sign, or
You
is
just signed
that the one? Okay, okay. Cool. Excellent, thanks for reminding me about that, that's good. And so that puts us back.
Cybersecurity, there's something to say about that for me, and I did reach out to Mark Nelson of Worsley Witten. Ex of Worsley Witten who's doing some good presentations nationwide about this issue, and he said he'd be happy to come.
Okay.
I asked him to work with the chair to figure out
Okay,
to do that.
I will do that. And have them on to the next meeting. Good.
Means you actually have to call him.
He, I'm sorry. He would also be a good source in some of our PFAS discussions. So I guess I'll ask him to address that too. Might as well. He's pretty up on that, I think. And I think we've spoken quite a bit about the source water protection test wells.
Yep.
Unless there are further questions on that, I think that's been covered. FY budget discussion, what do we have there?
So, after your last, meeting with the credential committee, the treasurer advised that we move the purchase of the computer equipment out of the operating and maintenance budget and make it a special article. So since we are doing that, we just need a cleanup vote on the operating and maintenance budget as revised to move that, how much? $8,500 out of the operations exception, a computer line item, and make it a special appropriation. So the budget that you have in the packet is as revised, as well as the 5-year cap plan showing the 2 financial appropriations that we'll be looking for annual district meeting. We will need somebody to go to the convention committee meeting on Monday, 22nd at 6 p.m. here, just to
April 22nd.
yeah, this coming Monday, to just give them, the heads up, the treasurer, just formally present that is the revised budget. The 2 financial articles that we are requesting, and then the 2 non-financial, well, this one's only one non-financial article, that you approved at the meeting tonight, so it's actually 3 financial articles and 1 financial. So that they can, because they have to say whether they're going to support them or not and publish the warrant for the annual meeting 30 days prior to the meeting.
So just be on the amendments to the budget for the pro committee,
So it would be the amendments to the budget. The,
warrant article.
right.
That's
And
what
then
you
the
do.
debate, so
I can do this.
4 warrant articles that we're requesting in addition to our.
So this new budget in the packet has the computer line item removed and it will be presented as a warrant article for 8,500.
Correct. And on the back side of that page that you're writing on is the CapEx budget, and then the 2 articles. 8,500 and.
Meter reading. Yeah, okay.
I can't go to the branch committee on Monday, but should we also present them with this signed letter, about the enabling legislation change?
So that'll be on the warrant article, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's one, okay.
so I can do that and certainly if, is there anybody want to join me there?
Yeah, I really, I think even if I did it by Zoom, we still have to.
I'll post it tomorrow, so that-
Okay,
and I did, give group contact, what's up?
will you be there and what? That would be good.
That's Monday.
Hit you with details.
Okay.
I think I can speak to the warrant article pretty well on the budget. And maybe. Yeah, yeah,
May I ask a question?
yeah.
The stabilization fund, that's our rainy day. Everyone pays into it.
It's intended for unforeseen capital expenses.
How much is in it? Does it ever get drawn down for what?
It hasn't got up high enough to be drawn down yet.
Okay,
We actually have taken it
Did we?
when we bought the pandemic. So it's $10 per meter, and it amounts to. Is it $45,000 a year, I think, goes in there.
Push our balance.
The treasurer had that on his report at the last meeting, so.
You'll have, you'll probably have.
and there's always a
Yeah.
article that asks the district to transfer those funds into the stabilization fund. Okay.
And because- We also put in a stabilization, not stabilization, what do we call our assessment fee? Now, I guess we call it assessment fee, but we, on any new construction, we charge $600.
Yeah.
And that goes into a fund too, to be used on water department expenses. We don't have a say over what that goes to. The treasurer uses it as he feels fit to make sure to keep the stuff down, right? He's already asked us if we anticipate any more, if we could take so much out of it. Because we're not putting any, we're getting 5 rental accounts a year, I mean. Yeah, so it's not very big. There was one that was supposed to be set that was never set, so now he has to put it to the side. Kind of worked out in the beginning, when they first made that bylaw, no one ever set up the account.
So both the assessment fee, accumulated funds, and the meter fee stabilization fund have to be used on water department specific projects. The assessment fee is spent at the discretion of the treasurer to fund water department projects. The stabilization fee, the per meter fee, can only be spent with a 2/3 vote of the district.
He's drawn down. Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's see.
The upcoming meetings.
Some meetings, we already discussed the school committee and the district meeting.
Well, no, this is the district meeting specifically about the school. It's a special.
Oh, right.
Saturday, May 4th at 1 p.m.
So that's a separate date.
At the church. And apparently there are dueling articles. I just got emailed today as a citizen. One is to demolish. And the other is to fund further studies, to look at feasibility of different options. I don't know if we want to take a position on this.
We already kind of have, right? I mean, not between those two decisions, but we've already on record with our concerns.
Right, so Dave wrote a letter addressing it, and I mean, the bottom line is, as a citizen, I might have a feeling one way or the other, but as a water commissioner, I'm really saying at this point to demolish. I just think that less is more over there. It's so close to well three. My kids went there, he went there. You know, it's got a soft spot in my heart. I wish it was still a school, but if it's not gonna be a school, I just don't think it makes sense to have it there, with a big septic system and everything else that goes along.
But do we need to take a position or side on those two articles, or not articles, but what do you call them? Do they bring into the meeting articles?
Well, yeah, they are. It's a special district meeting. It's a vote. And the vote will determine the fate of the school on that Saturday.
But do we need to take a position on?
Legally, we don't.
No.
If
And
we-
what we are on record with pride, the changes is that our concern is whatever happens there has to be done in a way that doesn't threaten water quality. That's
Now,
kind
we have
of
no
what we've been,
plans to relook.
and we've been sort of agnostic about whether that includes tearing the building down or doing something else, depending on the design, so.
So if you're satisfied with that position,
I kind of am. I mean, I'd rather stay out of, it's a little heated, it could get heated. And I agree with you, we can all have individual opinions, but from a water standpoint. You know, I guess I could disagree that nothing's better than nothing from a water standpoint. But it also strikes me that, you know, they could do something there that wouldn't threaten the water if it's designed in a proper way. So I'm not sure we want to oppose that. That's just my own thought.
if you do anything there, you're gonna have a septic system,
Yeah,
unless it's just a warehouse. We don't need a fancy warehouse. You can put all sorts of add-ons.
yeah, it may be less than, could be easily less than a single family home in terms of impact. Depending on what goes there, so, I don't know.
All right, so I guess I'm not hearing a critical mass of changing what we've already written. If somebody asks us,
We even need to be there, I mean, officially, at the meeting, we've been asked to attend, or,
well, they'll ask us to sit up front.
it's a district meeting.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
like the annual meeting. It's just the.
Well, we have a written
So we have-
position.
We should be there.
Yeah, we should be there.
I mean, we have,
Three of us.
you know, they'll. Vote your conscience. If we're not gonna vote as a board, then that's fine. But they're gonna ask us to sit up front.
And they're gonna, so in that case, they're gonna ask us for a position on this, right?
I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna have much discussion. I think it's gonna go right to the vote. Every time I keep it. And that's where it's gonna get stinky. And if that vote fails, then it goes into whether they spend the money they budgeted in 2020. The 240 to study the use. I believe that's the secret.
It is a little. That's backwards. They should have done the study, but
Right,
they didn't do it because they didn't want to do it.
right.
And
Which the bylaw says it's their discretion to spend it or not.
we authorized the money, but they decided to spend it, so. Anyway, okay, well, I just, I'm not hearing critical mass to support demolition, so I'm just gonna have my own position on it.
I haven't made my mind up yet.
Okay.
I can argue with myself all day long.
I could argue both ways, but I've come around to thinking that it's, you know, if there was an obvious use of the building, it would have been clear. Now we've got 2 years to think about it. Everybody's got bright ideas, but nobody's got an obvious use that makes sense, so.
And we have,
Tear the whole thing down, look at the bulk.
oh,
It's the newest thing.
supposed to be something, right? It's on our website.
About transferring property.
I mean, unless you want to propose another motion, I suggest that we stick with what
Okay,
we've got.
that's fine. Well, let's just have copies
Yeah,
for us as commissioners of our letter in case somebody
yes,
asks.
yes,
We can
yes,
refer to this letter.
yeah, okay,
So we'll have it on paper there.
good enough.
What is town, meeting, May 20?
May 29th, and I think the election is on the 28th. believe it is the,
And I have submitted my nomination papers for running for reelection, and I had 26 good signatures out of 28.
Well, if you get reelected, you're gonna have to be chairman again sometime.
With you,
Hmm?
you don't have them with you, do you?
The nomination paper, I carried it into the clerk.
Oh, you did,
The
okay,
fire staff.
okay. Perfect.
the one around at the planning department's presentation of the local comprehensive plan. And two things to note in that plan. One village out of the 7 listed water quality as its top concern, Cotuit. And the only issue of prioritization, the top 3 in every village was water quality.
Yeah. That's been going on for a long time.
Didn't say salt or fresh, but
Yeah. All right, any other items not envisioned by the chair or any further public comments? Do it for public?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
There was the discussion about the manufacturer of the septic, the upgraded septic system.
Yeah.
I just wondered whether the manufacturer done any testing for the PFAS. It seems crazy that they would not have done that. And I wondered whether anyone had inquired about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, talking about the nitro system, yeah, I've talked with John Smith about that, and to my knowledge, he has not done any testing. I kind of agree with you, but he's been, as Mark mentioned, he's been very focused on the nitrogen. And to my knowledge, he has not done it. I had actually asked that same question to him, you would think. Maybe, I don't know. So he hasn't, to my knowledge.
what about the test center at the base? Is that state or county?
It's county, but they get state and federal funds. That's county.
I cannot read their data at all. And it just confounds me. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's on there and they've ever looked at it or if it's just nitrogen.
Mostly nitrogen. Yeah, they don't have much on there other than that. Phosphorus, yes, phosphorus data. But I sent out a letter to Brian Baumgartner, the director, about the Schubel ponds, because they're the ones doing the sampling right there. And I talked to Zeke Crocker, so everything is set to go, pending our question about can we pay for it, but I think. I can't imagine that would be a problem, so we'll talk
Okay,
next week about that, next month.
I just had one more thing that I kind of brought up through, and I just want to circle back to the meeting that town council had that Dave attended and myself. I hadn't realized, I've been trying to watch it, and I finally got in touch with Cynthia Hull today. They still haven't posted the meeting.
No, you can watch it. It's visible. I was talking to Zeke Crocker, yeah, he was watching it today, it's like 5 hours.
Yeah, I tried to watch it, I mean, the old one, no problem, but if I go to the town council site, there's no video on, there's usually the agenda up there.
I think it's there.
She had said that she was gonna talk to the IT about getting a link to it and everything.
Question, these workshops, the one that Mark did and the one I did, are really good for me. As the,
Yeah.
the new member and in terms of an education, but have there ever been have the water districts ever just come together? To have
Not
workshops?
to my knowledge, it's a good idea.
We used to get together a lot more than a coalition.
On a countywide basis, but not in Barnstable.
In Boston, yeah, there was a group that we used to meet, and actually Tom Camberry was on it. And there was a superintendent from each committee. But it ended up getting disbanded because Craig Crocker was one of the people on it, and he didn't live in Boston. And there's a law that says to be on any committee, you don't live in Boston.
And he's a superintendent.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
So instead of somebody else going over there, they ended up just stopping for some reason, and we stopped meeting. That was-
Well, I asked because Hans, Kaiser, is it Kaiser? Kaiser came up to me and said he wants to learn more about 2 things, our irrigation ban and the rate change. They're very interested in hearing more, but how do we communicate it? How do we get it passed?
Yeah, and which group is
He's
he?
sponsored.
Yeah, he's on, he's the super.
Yeah, we're happy, how should we
How should we do that?
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
This week, it's not what we have
Yeah.
on any of that, I mean. I believe that our rich, is that on the web?
Yep.
Website, that he could get that off the rate, off the site, and, people, usually the other thing he was interested in was the,
Irrigation.
the irrigation, we could just send him that right away. Yeah.
The highest council is.
Well, I mean. They
You know,
can they can come to our meeting. We don't have to wait till 11:30 at night to go.
He's having, you know,
One thing that would be of interest, I think, Dave, is not only the rate changes, but also what's happened with the actual company, which we've been looking at month by month. A little summary of,
yeah,
here's what we did and here's what happened. Yeah, I can tell you from working with other communities, I mentioned Manchester by the Sea, where I've been working. They've been trying to do what we've done and they've been unsuccessful. They haven't been able to change the rates, but they're very interested in it. And I think it's a great idea. So my guess is many communities would be interested in what we've done.
right.
So if we had a little write-up of it, it'd be really valuable.
I believe that because in our bylaws, it says that the water commission sets the rates.
Yeah, we don't have.
I don't think that says that, and like they're through the town of Barnstable runs that. I don't think it says anywhere the town, that, I don't think they have a board.
Oh, I see.
So they have to go to the public to set the rates maybe, or to, the selectmen or somebody like that, yeah.
The Barnstable Council.
Probably, yeah, I would say, yeah.
So the town water department was the takeover of the Barnstable Water Company. They bought it up.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have any enabling legislation per se. It's just
It's
a town department. So I would think that any rate changes would be up to the council.
They have some pretty good rates themselves, so right now, they have some pretty high rates, I'm surprised, because they do on both sewer and.
Right.
They got two meters in, one going in, one going out, so they can separate septic, I believe,
Right.
yeah.
Last item raised at the PFAS workshop was an expression of frustration by COM that no matter how many grants they applied for, they never get approved. And they were looking for some guidance. Town manager else took the microphone and said that if the water districts were to band together and package all their grants together, he could assist in getting the attention of the appropriate fund holders. So it's just something to consider if we ever go chasing grants.
Right.
Well, I just wrote a $350,000 grant for the Dennis Water District that came through
That
today.
came up with it.
Was that
A great person.
our protection?
It's the help by land and so on too.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, we might get good, we might be looking for some reimbursements, for application reimbursements, so we wonder who might be able to assist us on it.
Have your people talk to me?
All right. Covered a lot. Already meet that.
Next meeting date, but I will say that, we typically have not met in May because of 2 annual district meetings and
yeah.
budget candidates night. So if we were to meet on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, that would be May 17th. It's typically the night before that they hold budget and candidates night, but I haven't seen a date for that.
I think we've done a lot of that. I'll see if the meeting today.
Skip May.
Yeah.
So call me in June.
Would it be the 15th?
It would, I'm sorry, I was looking at April. It would normally be the 15th, so the budget candidate is probably the 14th. So then we would meet the 3rd Wednesday of June, which would be the 19th.
June 19th. Is that good for everybody? Yep.
At Freedom Hall.
Okay.
19.
Anything else before I call for a motion for adjournment? Motion for adjournment. I move we adjourn. Second. All in favor? Thank you.
I motion to increase the temperature,
That's not our jurisdiction.